Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Thread. Can you believe it's already Wednesday?
I don't know. I lose track of time. I don't know.
Yeah. It's one of the things about doing this podcast is like, because every day we start off like today is Monday, today is Tuesday. It's like the week goes.
Well, next week I'll be doing this from Israel somehow.
Yeah.
I'm leaving it to you to figure that out, how we're going to do it.
I was leaving it to you.
It's only Wednesday, so why rush, you know? We don't have to think about it till probably next Tuesday afternoon. You know, then we'll say, oh, what are we going to do? Oh, you're in Israel? Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
Are you going to be, I mean, I'm sure some of our listeners are in Israel. Are you going to be signing autographs?
No, I don't need to sign any autographs. I never signed an autograph, I don't think anyone ever asked me for an autograph, and I don't think, I don't know. That's not my thing. I'm not in that market, so to speak.
Maybe some
let's see.
selfies.
How are we going to do this? Let's see. You'd like to record, what time is it now? 9:30, 10 o'clock, 10:30? You'd like to do 10:30, which means 5:30 in Israel.
Okay. That's like for dinner time for you.
I don't have a dinner time, you know.
No?
No. I just eat one meal a day.
Really? What time is that?
Starts in the morning and it goes like till late at night. But little dribs and drabs here and there.
You're a big smorgasbord type of guy.
But so I don't know how we're going to do that. I mean, we could do it later at night too, you know.
Could be.
So you could do it at noon, 7 o'clock.
We'll see.
I don't know. But you got to give me some kind of equipment to be able to, deliver a...
I'll take care of you. Don't worry.
You'll take care of me.
One thing I do want to mention is a big shout out to the sponsors of today's episode, which is Quality Stairs, our friend Shmuley Sugar, once again, taking care of us over here and sponsoring this podcast. He's doing great work. Business that's passed down from generation to generation. The old touch with the modern flair. You want to make sure that when you're walking up your steps, that it feels good.
You walk up with confidence.
With confidence, and that it feels good. Like it's
like when Yaakov Avinu's dream, he had malachim going up and down. What were they going up and down?
That's a good push. I like that.
They were going up and down on a stairway.
Well,
okay,
anyways,
so it was a ladder.
It's got to be.
It was like a stairway.
It's got to be as sweet as sugar. That's all. You know, you want your stairs as sweet as sugar. So you got to call the only person who can do that for you, and that's Shmuley Sugar. Right. You can go ahead and text Quality Stairs or call them at 917-941-0214. Get in touch with them today, and let them know, of course, your friends at the Daily Thread sent you. Okay, so a lot going on in the world. On a lighter topic, Argentina, Leo Messi, they won the game yesterday to get the team to the World Cup, the final game, the championship.
Who's that? Leo Messi?
Yeah, Lionel. His name is Lionel? Leo?
Who is that?
Lionel, but they call him Leo.
He plays for Argentina?
He's one of the best soccer players ever, but he's never won a championship.
Who did Argentina beat yesterday? Anybody know?
Yeah, they beat Croatia.
So who's Argentina playing? They're playing today?
No, so I think today there's a game. I can tell you right now.
Yeah, I know. Today, I saw this game at 1 o'clock, but I don't know. France and somebody.
Yeah, so France is playing today versus, drum roll please, Morocco.
Okay, that should be good.
Yeah, and France is the expected winner of that game. And it is interesting to note there's this one guy that the entire world is following right now on the social media world. I don't know his name, but he is a regular average guy who last year he made a $26 parlay bet. Parlay is a series of bets. Altogether, you need all things to go well to win the bet.
What did you make the bet on?
So he bet on the Golden State Warriors winning the championship.
On what? On FanDuel?
On FanDuel or DraftKings, I'm not sure.
DraftKings.
He bet on the Houston Astros winning the championship.
Okay.
He bet on the NCAA championship. I don't know who won that, to be honest. Maybe it was Villanova or Kansas. He bet on them to win the championship. And I think he maybe bet on one more sport. Maybe he bet on the Tampa Bay Lightning, or I don't know who won the Stanley Cup. Who won the Stanley Cup this year? No one knows. Avalanche. He bet on the Avalanche winning the Stanley Cup.
Yeah.
And his last leg of the parlay is for France.
So France
and he put
wins.
down $26. The Gematria of Yudke Vavke. He put down $26.
Okay.
It's not a Jew, by the way. I don't think so.
That wasn't his motivation, right?
No, he put down $26. And if France wins the championship in the World Cup, he walks away with $500,000.
Where's this guy from?
I don't know.
Is he American?
He's being protected, though. I think he is American.
Okay. Very interesting. It'll be interesting to see if France could pull it out.
Incredible. Be
You
incredible.
you have to know a lot about your sport to be able to,
I think it's a lot of luck.
A parlay it really is a lot of luck. A parlay, it doesn't take that much knowledge because anything can happen in any game.
Yeah.
As you know.
That is true. Okay, so a main story that we want to discuss today is one that surfaced in the evening yesterday, which is a piece from Ben Shapiro. And the title of that piece, do you recall what the title is?
Nope.
The title of that piece was Modern Orthodoxy's Moral Failure.
Okay.
So that caught a lot of headlines.
Right.
Before we delve into the content of that article, and this is a long discussion and it's a nuanced discussion, I spoke to a few rabbis in the modern Orthodox community.
Oh, you did? Since last night?
Yeah.
Okay. What
Not
did they
naming
say?
names, but they were sort of in agreement with the things that he said.
Okay. So I think it's a long essay.
Very long.
Okay.
And I definitely recommend reading it.
Well, first of all, you have to try to understand. You have to try to pick it apart a little bit. Try to understand what's Ben Shapiro's motivation behind writing it. What is he trying to change? He's just a very principled person,
Very logical also.
very moral, very ethical. Whatever he does, he tries to do according to Torah law.
Yeah.
According to Halacha.
He speaks very often about Jewish identity being priority over everything else.
I think the gist of the article, if I understood it, and I only read it one time, and it's a very intricate, makes not numerous, multi level points, is that he feels that modern Orthodoxy, and we have to define what modern Orthodoxy is, which is difficult in its own right, but they're making compromises. That's watering down their observance of Jewish law.
Yeah. So
Okay.
the first paragraph he writes here, which I think sums up the article pretty nicely, or sets the foundation, is modern Orthodoxy is in a state of crisis. It is in a state of crisis because its leadership class has, in large measure, abandoned its central principles in favor of political expedience, surrendering long-term interests for short-term tactical maneuvering.
Okay, so first of all, a point that stuck out to me was that Orthodox to us is what we call from Jews, right?
Yeah.
But what we call from Jews, not necessarily only Orthodox. Orthodox seems to be a much broader term, and from seems to be like a little bit of a narrower term.
Orthodox has many different facets.
Yeah, there's different levels of Orthodoxy, theoretically, okay? There's something that was hatched a few years ago called open Orthodoxy.
Yeah, that's not.
But they call them. No, the point that I want to make is that Shapiro points out that the term Orthodox was not created by Torah observant people, the term Orthodox was a reference to people that observe Torah. It was a term created by the Reform movement to identify people that are more to the right, so to speak. All right, so we didn't
adopt that term.
We didn't create or are necessarily comfortable in the fact that we are Orthodox or quote unquote from. And Shapiro points out that this is something, like I said a moment ago, was created by Reform leaders to identify and characterize what it means to be Orthodox. So, what does it mean to be Orthodox? Does it mean keeping 613 mitzvahs? It means trying to keep 613 mitzvahs.
How is it possible to identify what it means to be Orthodox?
All right, so first of all, without the Beis Hamikdash existing, it's impossible to do Taryag mitzvahs. Okay.
So the dictionary's definition of Orthodox.
Yeah. Okay.
Of a person or their views, especially religious or political ones or other beliefs, conforming to what is generally or traditionally accepted as right or true, established and approved. It's so interesting. The Reform movement doesn't refer to themselves as holding to what's right and true.
No, I believe it's difficult for me to say, but I think that they understand that they are
reforming
they're making
changing it.
Yeah, that's the definition of the word.
Okay,
they've reworked the ingredients.
Okay, so so let's get to let's before we continue on this train. If you Google modern orthodoxy.
Okay.
What we have here from Wikipedia, which I don't know, modern Orthodox Judaism is a movement within Orthodox Judaism that attempts to synthesize Jewish values and the observance of Jewish law with the secular modern world. Modern Orthodoxy draws on several teachings and philosophies and thus assumes various forms. Okay, So that, and it says here that who started modern Orthodoxy? It seems to be Rabbi Samson Raphael Hirsch. So that definition of modern Orthodoxy, which I think is a correct one, you had mentioned YU's slogan is
Torah Mada,
to be learning Torah, but to also be
with the secular pursuit of secular subjects,
but
chemistry,
nowadays,
mathematics.
so I think where the rubber meets the road with Ben's piece, and if you could tell me if I'm wrong, if I understood it incorrectly, is that it's almost as if you can't really have both always, because there are secular ideals and values, especially nowadays, that contradict in every possible way what the Torah says.
Well, listen. First of all, Torah Mada is a great concept. Number one, look how proud we are of people that have accomplished great things, that wear yarmulkes.
Ben Shapiro himself.
Ben Shapiro himself, of course, he's a leader in the industry, in the media industry. Other people, Israeli leaders, very often. Are people that are on the outward observant. We've had people like David Friedman, who was the U.S. ambassador to Israel. Who was identified proudly and clearly as a frum Jew, came up through our yeshiva system here in the Five Towns, and he was a U.S. ambassador. He was an American diplomat.
I don't think that it's.
So my point is, we're very proud. We're very proud of those things. But at the same time,
to what extent?
But you know what? It reminds me of. It's just trying to understand the concept. It reminds me of when during the COVID lockdowns here, when people started to organize loosely structured minyanim outside in front of their houses.
Yeah.
A lot of people were against it. Why were they against it? Because if you're going to have a loosely structured minyan with people separated by 6 feet, the next day it's going to be 3 feet, then it's going to be 2 feet, then they're going to be talking to each other. Then
there's no good there.
It's what they used to call the slippery slope. Okay,
right.
It's what it leads to next. This is the gist of what Shapiro was saying. Torah Mada. Whether you are a product of Yeshiva University or whether you belong to, let's say, for example, for an Orthodox Union shul, of which there are about 1,000 shuls that are affiliated with the OU in the United States. Shapiro's point was, what happens when you are a Torah-based institution,
right,
but you are forced or have a proclivity to unfortunately, or are forced to make compromises. Okay,
you're forced to sort of
specifically,
adopt,
and that came to the fore this year, a few months ago,
with the LGBTQ,
with the clubs at Yeshiva University, which seemed to have been a stark contradiction, because if anything signals a defiance of traditional Torah-based Jewish life,
it's that topic.
It is. The fact that how you identify what a marriage is. I saw last night, I saw a recording of both Barack Obama and Joe Biden, where back 15 years ago, they both said that marriage is
between a man and a woman.
Between a man and a woman. Barack Obama said it. Yeah. Joe Biden said it in 2006, and now he's signing
Equality Marriage Act,
a bill that says, what's it called? The
Marriage Equality Act.
Marriage Equality. It's called marriage, whatever it's called. RM. I forgot what it's called.
RMA.
What?
It was lit up in rainbow.
In rainbow colors. And anyway, no. So the point is, you talk about where the rubber meets the road. Is that what you said?
Yeah, you like that?
Yeah, where the rubber meets the road. So, what happens when you are an organization, a YU affiliated organization, or an OU affiliated organization, or other types of modern Orthodox affiliated organizations? What?
No. Just I would just say it quicker.
Oh, say it quicker. So, what happens when you're forced into a situation where you have to recognize
that you need to take a side?
So this is the nature of the lawsuit. The YU is insisting, for example, that they are a religious institution. Therefore, they have a right not to be accommodating to things that defy Jewish law.
But they lost that. They lost that suit.
No, that's still under appeal. It
Okay.
might be going to the Supreme Court. I think the appeals court heard the case. They haven't issued a decision yet, and after they issue a decision, if a decision is not going to be to NYU's favor, they're going to go to the United States Supreme Court.
I think what Ben really has an issue is and you can tell me if I'm wrong. I don't want to misspeak, especially on such a sensitive topic. The OU and YU stance on that Marriage Equality Act was in favor or not in favor of it?
No, they obviously they were against it, but they were from the political point of view. There was an element of the law which was very helpful to the frum community. Of course, included in the law, and this is how they work in Washington. Included in the law was the fact that if you are an Orthodox Jewish person and you own a catering hall or a bakery, and someone comes to you and they want you to cater a marriage between 2 men and 2 women, in the past, if you refused them, you could be sued for discrimination.
Yeah.
Okay, and it could, if you lose that case, you could, conceivably lose a lot of money. It would cost you a lot of money. But now, as part of that law, which kind of like maneuvered these organizations to support it, but like in a left-handed way, they were in a situation where they where they have to endorse the good parts of the law, which means that people are off the hook in terms of if you have a catering hall and you want to, and someone wants to make a same-sex wedding there, that you could refuse them and not be making yourself vulnerable to a lawsuit.
So Ben says here, and this is very relevant to what we're discussing. There are 3 groups within modern Orthodox movement that have embraced the secular worldview, and in doing so threaten the obliteration of Orthodox Judaism in itself. First are those who clearly embrace the morality of secular modernity. Call them the secular Orthodox. The organization Eshel, for example, bills itself as Orthodox, but states that its mission is to create a future for the LGBTQ within the Orthodox community and their families. Eshel envisions a world where Orthodox LGBTQ individuals can live out their lives in the Orthodox communities of their choice, which obviously is not in line with Torah values. The very language of Eshel's declaration is a complete renunciation of Orthodoxy, like we just said. Judaism admits of no such concept as an Orthodox LGBTQ individual, and any more than that admits an Orthodox Shabbos breaker or an Orthodox pork eater. Orthodoxy acknowledges that some struggle with sin and treats those people with compassion, but it certainly does not admit that sin can be placed at the center of identity alongside Jewishness, or that, God forbid, sin ought to be not only tolerated but celebrated and countenanced by Orthodox Jewish community as a whole. He then goes ahead and he says that yet many modern Orthodox schools, synagogues, and nonprofit organizations have embraced the perspective of Eshel that the duty of modern Orthodoxy is to mirror the preferences and the gender identities of community members. In the words of SAR high school principal Jonathan Kroll, we wanted to create an environment that let our LGBTQ students know that they were not just being tolerated in our community, but they are welcomed and embraced. Unsurprisingly, an LGBT activist and identity have skyrocketed at such institutions. Societal obsession breeds imitation. So that's really the core issue here. Is the lines are getting blurred of what's
it's problematic. There's
it's
no way to settle it. Can you have an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting that has a kiddush before they start? I don't think you can have that.
No, it's
that really you can't have that.
Then Ben goes on to say there's a second group that's called the Modern Orthodox organization that know the halacha and they understand it, yet they're embarrassed by it. Let's call them the nervous Orthodox. In this category falls sadly the OU. Recently, the Orthodox Union put out a statement endorsing the so-called Respect for the Marriage Act, a piece of legislation enshrining gay marriage into federal law. The RFMA inherently rejects the Judaic point of view on marriage in favor of secular morality by pretending that marriage between 2 men is equivalent to marriage between a man and a woman, and then declaring that religion is essentially the only reason to believe otherwise. The RFMA utterly undermines the natural law basis for marriage as well as the logical basis for halacha on the matter. And then, surprisingly, Agudas Yisrael put out an excellent statement rejecting the view. Agudas Yisrael put out a statement saying the passage of the RFMA will inevitably result in continuing disparagement and disenfranchisement of faith-based communities and their millennia-old views on marriage and gender, further alienating them on the national discourse. So Ben really did commend the Agudah for their stance.
Let me tell you, about 7-8 years ago, Sheldon Silver, who was the speaker of the New York State Assembly, Oliver Shalom, was in my office. He was here downstairs, right, one floor below us. He was here to endorse the candidacy of Todd Kaminsky from Long Beach, who was running for the New York State Assembly at the time. He became a state senator, and he eventually lost last year because he got into trouble with the no cash bail bill. And that's the short story. So I had Shelley Silver in my office, and I said to him in a conversation before he went to endorse Kaminsky over at the Lawrence Country Club. I said to him, explain to me all these years, you're the Democratic leader, explain to me how you're, as an Orthodox Jew, you daven in the Bialystock Shul on the Lower East Side of Manhattan. You went to yeshiva. You were close with Moshe Feinstein. You were close with Reb Ruvain and Reb Dova Feinstein. How do you support gay rights legislation in the assembly?
Yeah. And
he's an attorney, okay, and that's what it comes down to, the way attorneys see things. And he said to me, it's for him, that's not a matter of supporting gay rights. For him, it's a matter of civil rights. You know, if two men or two women live together for 30, 40 years, and one of them passes away, and one of them has Social Security in a conventional relationship, the surviving spouse assumes the Social Security payments of the spouse of the partner that passed away, or the spouse that passed away. And he sees it that way. Why should these people that spend their lives together not have the same financial rights?
Okay,
if
that's a very political.
Else.
It's a very. I feel like it's a very political view of it. Ben goes on to say, finally, there's a third group: those who understand the halacha and hold by it, but do not fully appreciate the optics of their actions, and therefore grant fodder to their opponents. Let's call them the clumsy Orthodox. And Ben says Yeshiva University's leadership apparently falls into this category. When confronted with the threat of a state court forcing them to admit a Pride Alliance student group, Yeshiva University did the right thing. They fought the student group at the Supreme Court level. In a lawsuit that is currently ongoing, they also shut down all student groups rather than acquiescing to the tyranny of anti-religious bigotry, forcing violation of halacha. This was an act of bravery and vision. And then, presumably confronted by donor heartburn and public pressure, YU attempted to halve the baby. In October, after the Supreme Court temporarily refused to put a hold on the application of the New York City human rights law to the university, YU put out a statement announcing that it had started what it called the Kol Yisrael Raven Club for the LGBTQ students striving to live authentic Torah lives. And this in turn leads to the logical conclusion that YU accepts LGBTQ plus identity as such and simply refuses to allow people with that authentic identity to engage in the activities likely to make such people happy. No wonder 1,000 YU alumni signed a letter of outrage to the university demanding a full-scale acceptance of the YU Pride Alliance itself. So that is what he calls the clumsy Orthodox, and this is where modern Orthodoxy in general finds itself, and that's why Ben penned this piece. And we're just reading out some excerpts of it. I definitely encourage the listeners to read this piece. Do you consider yourself modern Orthodox?
Well, it's hard to do I consider myself modern Orthodox? I don't know. You have to define what the term modern Orthodox means. I mean, if people looking at us, looking at you, people are going to identify you as modern Orthodox.
I don't think so.
Yeah, you don't. I mean, maybe I'm using stereotypes.
You're saying like outwardly? Like I don't think so.
Well, you're wearing a sweatshirt. You don't have a beard. You don't have long payas.
No, but that's
you're wearing a relatively modest yarmulke. These are the accoutrements. These are the exteriors that
I don't think
identify you. What do you call yourself?
I put myself in the.
Okay, you wear a kapot on Shabbos.
I put myself in the neo Hasidic. I'm a neo Hasid.
Okay.
Maybe, I think.
All right. So
if that's not if that term isn't canceled,
part of the problem I think is highlighted by
or Heimish. Like
Heimish is a bakery. Heimish is the kind of challah that you eat.
Do they sell chocolate pudding?
I don't. Let's skip one day of chocolate pudding. Let's take one day off of chocolate pudding. Heimish is a type of challah. I don't know what else is Heimish. I don't know what that means. Heimish, people ask that when it comes to shidduchim. We're getting off on a tangent, but I think that's good. People ask you about shidduchim, is he from a Heimish background? I don't know what that means,
It means is the challah they have on Friday night, is it like...
Is it only limited to the
like,
challah?
do they have... If they have sourdough, they're not Heimish. If they have shiny, big wedding challah, then they're Heimish. No? If the Heimish family you picture is a massive wedding challah on their Friday night table, no, that's Heimish.
Actually, someone told me yesterday, to identify a little bit better, someone told me yesterday, when someone has a cough and fever and they're not feeling well, in Muncie it's called the flu. In Lakewood, it's called the flu. In Teaneck, it's COVID.
Yeah, that's Heimish. We're about to get canceled. We love you, T-Neck. Anyways, so this is the modern Orthodox debate, and I do think that it's
Well, look at the problem is, Nachi. We discussed the other day yesterday about
lines are getting blurred.
the other extreme where places in the Hasidic communities like Williamsburg and Monroe, where kids aren't being educated at all, and they're getting into trouble with the state education department, with funding, because they're not even teaching their kids, fundamental things like math and English. Yeah. Okay, in some schools that I know of, after 8th grade, there's absolutely no English classes, no secular courses whatsoever. So that's that extreme. So there has to be should be a middle ground. Now you have to understand. Places like Yeshiva University and produced tremendous Talmidei Chachamim.
I know, but that's why that's why this current period of time that we're in is a very icy pond for the modern Orthodox movement in general, because you wanna go ahead and bring in the secular ideals.
All right,
but
so
what's coming along with that is it's absolutely contradictory to the Torah values.
So, but what Shapiro didn't mention is the reason the modern Orthodox have themselves in that position is because they don't want to be labeled as being discriminating. But which would eliminate them from being eligible for federal funding for certain programs.
Listen, I had Yechiel Kalish on my podcast, and something that he said, from Hatzalah, and something the CEO of Hatzalah, and what he said when he was working in politics, he went to a Rav because a bill came across his desk. It was an abortion bill. He could vote for it, and he could just, that even though he doesn't believe in abortion, he could vote for it, and everything will, go over. He'll get maybe reelected. He was able to get hundreds of millions of dollars for yeshivas and Jewish organizations and funding.
Okay.
But he went to a big rabbi, and he said, I hear why you should vote for it in terms of that, but your neshama, what's going to be with your neshama if you vote yes to an abortion bill? You can't do it.
Okay.
And I think the same applies to something like this. How can when it comes down to it, is this true? Is it good? Does it align with the Torah? And if it doesn't, then how can we say, yes, but for this and that reason, then
but there are many, many nuances, which is one of your favorite words, also incorporated into that. Number one is, take Shelley Silver, for example, Oliver Shalom. He was very close with David Feinstein, Zecher Tzadik Livracha. And he didn't really he consulted Reb David on everything. So take his support of gay rights legislation. He was a speaker. He was a member of the assembly. Okay, he was the speaker. But he was one of 130, 140 Democrats that were going to vote for this.
And he was going to be out.
This was going to become law no matter what.
No matter what. But still, the same thing applies.
And because he voted along with them, he was able to
do more for the community.
Impact on funding for organizations like Hatzalah and OL.
I hear it. I just don't know. Maybe we'll discuss more about it tomorrow. It's a very important topic. We'll post the link to the article in the description in the show notes. Thank you for
the homework tonight is not to comment on this unless you read the entire article.
Exactly. You need to read the entire article.
No comments unless you read the entire article.
And then you could go ahead and message us on WhatsApp, because we're going to continue this conversation. You can send us an email at thedailythread@meaningfulminute.org if you want to chime in. If you're from the modern Orthodox community and you have a perspective on this, we'd love to hear it. I hope that nothing I said or my father said today was in any way offensive or inaccurate. We're just two people trying to break down a situation.
We're trying to this piece by Ben Shapiro is out there.
Yeah,
and people are going to be reading it. People are going to be reading it.
And our goal is to give some depth and stories behind the headlines.
We have to do a little bit of commentary on it.
Exactly.
We got to really say what it's about and how's it relevant to our daily lives.
Absolutely.
We live on that planet. We're not looking at it in a telescope from a few thousand or a few 100,000 miles away.
Absolutely. Well, that's our show for today. Thank you for watching the Daily Thread. Make sure to sign up to us on WhatsApp status. Send us the email at thedailythread@meaningfulminute.org. Again, a big shout out to our friends at Quality Stairs, Shmuley Sugar. Make sure to give them a call or a text. And we'll be back at you with another episode tomorrow. Have a great day.